Well, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you may be. Thank you very much for listening to episode 2 of the HuddleUK's podcast. I'm Philip Marsh, the host of HuddleUK. Today, we're focusing everything Washington Commanders. What a game it was the other night in the playoffs. Smiling faces all around, and you can see from my guests today, more smiling faces. I'm joined by Andy Lockhart. Andy, how are you feeling after the game?
Oh, amazing, man. Really, yeah, it's been a long time, man. Long time. So, yeah, it's kind of a dream sometimes, think about it, you know?
I think, if I'm not mistaken, the last win in the playoffs was 19 years ago against Tampa as well, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. It was 2005?
Yeah, about that.
2005? 2005, yeah, away at Tampa. Yeah, he won that one. Yeah, so it's come full circle.
So it felt like it was written when the people were talking about that, the last game. Well, we'll get into that game and loads more.
Yeah, man.
But firstly, want to know about yourself, your background. I can see the Washington hat on there. I know One Point Safety is a show you do as well. So talk to me, I know from your name as well and your Twitter handle, from Liverpool originally. How did a boy from Liverpool get into being a Washington fan?
Yeah, I mean, my brother's about 13 years older than me. And obviously when the NFL started to come around in the 80s, kind of like mid to late 80s, my brother was getting into it at that time. I think it was on Channel 4 those days, I think, was it when it first started coming over here. And he started to get into it. And then, being honest, at that time, when you're trying to pick a team, think, oh, I want to follow a team, you're going to pick a team that's pretty good at that time, aren't you, really? Because you got no other affiliation. So my brother obviously picked the Redskins at the time, and because they were doing pretty well around that era, so the Joe Gibbs era. So yes, we picked that, and he's followed it ever since. And basically, my fandom really started. My first kind of thought of American football was more along the lines of when I was like 7. It was 1991, basically, when we actually won the Super Bowl. The last time we won the Super Bowl. Obviously, I didn't know what the hell was going on. 7 years old, sitting there going, "Oh yeah, what's this?" But my brother had it on the telly, you see. So that's the reason why I kind of started to, slightly get into it. And then obviously over the next kind of few years, you really start to learn the game over the next 5, 6, 7, 8 years. Because it took a while. Because as I say, them days you didn't really have a lot of content that we could get really could at that time. So yeah, so I kind of grew from there really, and then obviously since then it's been just ongoing and ongoing, and the love's got right up there now. So I say I do my own podcast talking Washington football. I actually do 3 different podcasts actually. The One Point Safety Show is the main one I do, which is purely UK based. With me and my other co-host there, Scott Hartley. We do that every Thursday, and that's live, so anyone can join in on that one. 8 p.m. UK time. We do have a few Americans who do come across and speak to us on the chats, and we have a little community there, so it's really nice. I do one called The Bunker as well, with Andy Burrows, who's another English guy, and we have also an American like third co-host on there as well, called Jesse Martin. And the last one I do is on a Sunday. Is normally a pre-game show with Christian, who you knew, who obviously got us two together here today, and a guy called Deuce, who's an American, who's actually the main host of that show called Red Zone in the Lab UK. So yeah, man. So we talk ball. I talk ball nearly all week. And yeah, man. It's I really enjoy doing it. And yeah, finally got a decent team. So I'm really happy, man.
Finally, I was just about to say, you must. I mean, I talk football a lot. I've got my little community of friends here in Cardiff in South Wales who I like to talk to it about, but it sounds like you're doing it on a daily basis, live stream and all the rest of it, which is fantastic. So what's good to know is you're definitely the right man for this episode, definitely the right person to have on. You said before we went live as well that you lived in America.
Yes.
Did you get to go to games, I assume, when you were over there?
Not NFL games. I was in where I was living. I was living in Gainesville, which is in Florida. Basically, know what the Florida Gators college team.
Yes.
I was living in that town, and I was working a little bit out there for the team. So
amazing!
Because my background is a physiotherapist, so that's my job. I still do now. So and I was working out with them probably around 2012, 2013, yeah, something like that.
So how did you? I mean, working in physio then over here and over there. I remember, this is going to bring it back to a Welsh perspective, I guess, but that's where my hat is usually.
Yeah.
But when we watched Lewis Summit at the start of last year leave rugby and go out there, I remember that he did his 40-yard dash time at the end of one of the college days and was about 0.5 seconds slower over 40 yards than the likes of Xavier Worthy. And I remember thinking that sort of was a bigger distance than the 100-meter final, which is a significantly longer race at the Olympics. What we consider to be like peak athleticism over here, not that it isn't, obviously, and not saying people like Rees Amit are not athletic, that would be crazy. But over there, they're quality, crazy specimens of human beings, aren't they?
Oh, the massive. You don't realize how big these guys are. You stand next to a D lineman and they're like literally 6'7", absolutely massive. You think like rugby guys are big. No, not at the same level, mate. Honest to God, I mean, and they're all athletic freaks. That 6'7" guy, he can run a 5-second 40-yard dash, and he's like 320 pounds. These guys are ridiculous. They're super fast, they're super strong, super massive. And it is a different breed, because at the end of the day, in America, it's all about meritocracy. So you're all about trying to be the best. Okay, so it's always about being the best, and when you're working in college, obviously these guys have got dreams of being NFL players, all the rest of it, and they've grown up with the high school. You've got to be good at high school to get to college. You get to college and you work hard, you work your ass off, and hopefully you're good enough for the NFL. And obviously some of these guys' dreams get shattered, but these guys are the best of the best that come through. There's no kind of guys who's. I know you do see the odd undrafted free agent come out there and become like really, really good in the NFL, but it's very rare that you see that. They're always going through decent colleges normally. They've all been picked. Because they've all got these ridiculous athleticism.
Yeah, it's born into them, isn't it? If you kind of want to do it from a young age, you have to be. And I guess that was the case for a lot of sports. You hear Olympians talking all the time from the age of 3, 4. That's their life, and the family have to commit to it. But I think you can see that during the draft as well, when they've got everyone, all the families round. They pan to people's houses. There's 50 people, because I guess it's a team effort from everyone involved in their lives to get them to that stage. So I always like watching that. It's a nice sort of aspect of it, and you kind of feel for them there and emotional for them. And well, that's a couple of months away, and
yeah, definitely, man. Yeah, definitely. I mean, the NFL. Say the draft, that is something I always love. I always look into the kind of the players coming up next, and you do obviously, because I do podcasts anyway. That every week we'll always do kind of like, research and then kind of go who's the next best guys coming through, for potentially our pick. So you do those things all the time. I don't do loads of mock drafts per se, because I think that gets it a bit boring for people at the time, because mock drafts and mock draft, you don't know what the hell's going to be going on. Things will be changing every single second. So, they're a much of a muchness. So yeah, man. I mean, I'm really excited to see the draft this year as well.
Not that you were mock drafting last year, but obviously Washington had the second pick in the draft. It turns out rather good selection in Jayden Daniels, I think it's fair to say. As I said, we'll get onto him in a minute. So his crazy stats, it's wild. Were you pleased at the time? Was Daniels the guy you wanted? Because leading up, it seemed pretty sure that Caleb was going to the Bears, and then people were sort of a bit swapping between Drake May and Jayden Daniels as the two options that Washington could go for. Mm-hmm. Was Daniels your guy?
I'm not going to lie. I was a Drake May guy.
Oh, really?
I really was, yeah. I was a really Drake May guy. I thought when you see Jayden Daniels, yes, I loved his game. Great deep ball threat. Great accuracy, which is always going to do well, always going to stand up well in the NFL. Always is. However, my concern with Daniels is his build. Okay, so he's very, very slim. He's 6'3", so he's quite tall. But it's about kind of, he's very, very slim, and I was just concerned about longevity, as in, is he going to be able to handle these hits all the time? Now, he has been injured this year, but he has played through it, which shows that he's got balls of steel. But in general, that's still the biggest concern for me. It's still the same problem, it's still that. With Drake May, he's 3 years younger than Jayden. Well, Jayden's 24 years old, May's 21 now. He's got the prototypical size. and he's actually quicker than you think he is when he runs. You've seen it at the Pats. If you watched any of the Pats games this year, when he does centre scramble, he's pretty fast. So, and he's getting better each time. So you can see he's definitely behind Jayden in the learning curve. But again, he's 3 years younger. So what do you expect? Were we expecting to be challenging this year? No, I wasn't expecting it at all. It depending who we got at quarterback. Was it Jayden? Was it Drake May? I didn't expect this to be this good. Being honest with you, we still got plenty of holes, but yeah, man. But I'm really happy with Adam Peters. The ownership done the right things, so I'm really happy.
I remember seeing a compilation of hits that Jayden Daniels took at college level, and they were terrifying. I think that's the thing that's impressed me most is, as you say, longevity was a big concern. And if he started taking hits in the NFL like he took in college, he wouldn't have lasted a season. He wouldn't be here. He wouldn't still be fit at this stage in the season. So he's done well to learn when to slide, know when to, get out of bounds. Because that was my worry as well when you guys picked him, because no doubt in the deep ball threat, and his link up with McLaurin this year has been fantastic. One of those receivers who I think gets underappreciated and goes under the radar a little bit. Had another big game on Sunday. Big fan of his. But yeah, it turns out it was a good pick. Anyway, hopefully going forward as well, he can stay fit. I don't want to jinx him now. He's going to run out of Ford Field now and dive headfirst into people. A la Tua Tagovailoa. Fingers crossed that doesn't happen for him and for all of you guys, obviously, as well. You mentioned there briefly about the ownership. That's been the big change, hasn't it, in sort of recent history, the very more immediate history of the team. The vibes just feel different. I hate the word vibes, but the atmosphere, it feels like a happy team now, a positive team.
Oh, massively. Yeah, you can tell everybody enjoys going to work. With Dan Snyder, some stuff that's pretty damn bad. Some of the things that tell you what the guy is not great at all. Not a nice man, put it that way. So happy that he got forced out by the NFL / Josh Harris, who's the main owner, even though we've probably got about 20 owners. They're all part ownership. But Josh Harris is the main guy. I think he owns about 35% of the overall. So he's like the managing director type guy, technically full owner. Or part owner, I should say, but main shareholder. And when he came in, he didn't rock the boat first year. He just kind of sat back, tried to learn the game, because he's from a sporting background of he owns other sports franchises. Obviously, NFL's a little different, so he kept himself in the background a little bit first year. Just said, "Ron, you go with it, see how you go." Realised that we were just a bad team, and unfortunately, Ron was bad. One of the nicest guys, one of the most genuine guys you'll ever meet. Ron Rivera. Everyone loves him. Why? Because he's such a great guy. Problem is, he's not a great coach. I mean, and that's the problem, So all the best to Ron going forward. But then we go to the second year, and that's when he really starts to make his presence known. Then really, Josh Harris, he goes, okay, then what are we going to do? And what's he do? He goes out there. He gets all these specialist people who know people who know what it's all about, and then they recommend Adam Peters. Okay, so to go to the GM. So obviously, do you interview him? Do you interview a guy from the Bears? It was between those two to get the GM job for us, and we went with Peters, and he's been superb. Even when you think to question the guy, you question, why the hell are you signing that dude? But it's come off, man. I mean, the guy just knows what he's doing. He knows how to build rosters. Yes, of course we've got holes still, but man, yeah. I mean, Peters comes in, and then he goes, okay, now we're going to do the right way of doing it. Ownership, your GM, then your head coach. Okay, and that's exactly how we've done it this time round. And he went with DQ and Dan Quinn, and again he's exactly what we needed. I mean, for me at the time, before we got him, I was after Ben Johnson from the Lions. But when you realise what DQ is all about, and when you speak to him, how he speaks, how he communicates with people, and how he learned from his mistakes at Atlanta when he was head coach there, he's just phenomenal, man. I mean, the guy's just a phenomenal guy. So it's like, I can understand why he went to hire him, and then we get a big, massive roster turnover, but also ridiculous amounts of new coaches that came in. I think we had about 30 guys between front office and coaches, and big turnover,
I wasn't. I hold my hands up when they appointed Dan Quinn. It didn't. I don't know. I didn't think, oh, this is the guy. I mean, this is going to be what changes the team. It kind of felt it was a step up from Ron Rivera, but not quite what you wanted with a Jayden Daniels, but completely proven wrong this year. I don't think I was the only one as well in that camp. I think there were a few people who weren't enamored with Dan Quinn's appointment, but I mean, definitely one of the head coach of the year candidates. I mean, we've got an awards voting going on at the moment with HuddleUK, and there's definitely a few people who've put Dan Quinn as their.
Oh yeah, man, he's got to be up there. I mean, last year we were 4-13. You know, that's the difference. This year we're 12-5, and won a playoff game in one season. I mean, to be fair, not that I'm being biased. I mean, besides, maybe you might say the Minnesota guy, who's ex-Skins as well. What's his name?
Kevin O'Connell.
Besides him, I don't think anybody else touches Dan Quinn, to be fair, this year. I really don't. I know Dan Campbell's doing really well over Detroit. I get it, but he's built a roster. That team is already that's now ready to go. It's expected to be where they're at, where they're doing right now. So for me, he's just doing what he normally does. Who's made the biggest difference, the biggest change this year between last year and the year before? And it's between those two, Dan Quinn and McConnell, for me.
Let's go to this Bucks game then. Sunday night at Raymond James Stadium, 19 years on. Do you remember the game 19 years ago?
Nah, ish.
Some players came up big. Diami Brown, what a game he had as well. That's not a name I think many people would have had in a playoff fantasy team, but everyone really had a part to play, didn't they, on Sunday night?
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, and that's how Dan Quinn's teams roll. You think about it, the whole team was a team game. It was a team performance. For example, if you look at not just the playoff game but previous games, there's always been a wide receiver besides Terry that stepped up for us, and we don't have great wide receivers. Now you look at our receivers; they're not like the biggest names. They're not flash. There's none of those guys. Terry is, as you mentioned before, he's very underrated across the national media. He's such a good receiver. He's just had absolute dog shit quarterback stolen to him until this year. So, let's be honest here. And Terry did what he normally does, and Terry did what he did. But then you will always need at least one more receiver to show out. And this week it was Diami Brown, and I wasn't expecting it from Diami because before that it was Crowder. Before that it was Zacchaeus. In different games leading up to this game, who come up with like 1 or 2 touchdowns here and there. But yeah, man, going back to Diami really showed out for us, man. He really stepped his game up, and because I thought he was going to be the guy being cut at the end of the year, I really do. But now, after that performance, I believe he's going to get another contract. I do, because that's clutch, man. He came up clutch and we needed him.
Massively so. I'm just looking at McLaurin's stats here, because you say about the carousel of quarterbacks he's had to deal with, and despite that, the lowest yardage total he's had in the season. I mean, you talk about consistency. His rookie year, 919 yards, was his lowest one set. I mean, the max he's had is 1,118. Oh, no, just shy of 1,200 he had in 2022. But every single year, he just hits that 1,000 mark. And this year, 13 touchdowns is his best for a single season.
Yeah.
Not surprised.
I'm not surprised when you've got a real quarterback. We've got a real quarterback now. This guy's going to scare teams. Even just thinking about him is going to scare defenses. Where before it was, I could rattle them off for you. I mean, how many quarterbacks Terry's had to play with who were god awful. Taylor Heineke, Kyle Allen, Carson Wentz, Fitzpatrick for one game till he broke his hip. What else did we have, man? We had some. Garrett Gilbert had to play a game. Remember Garrett Gilbert? Remember him? They found him from the street because we ended up with no quarterbacks because of COVID. These are the kind of quarterbacks that we had to deal with, and these are registered starters. These weren't guys that, besides Gilbert, was actually they were named stars before the game. They weren't guys who came in at half time because of injury or something. And Terry, again, the model of consistency, 1,000 yards every season. The year he didn't was his first year, and he missed 3 games through injury. So that's the only reason why he missed out on that. So he would have been in the conversation with Mike Evans, Mike
I just
Evans.
couldn't say that, yeah.
So, but again, yeah, man. I mean, I love Terry. I've always called him elite. I mean, a lot of fan base, even my own fan base, thinks, I don't know about elite. But he's shown up every time for us, man. He's Mr. Consistency. He's a team player. Love the guy.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with Ollie. I think that is absolutely what he is. A fantasy fan of mine as well. He's always a great player to stick in your teams because, as you say, consistent. Every week he's there. He's getting targets and receptions and really carries that team at times. And the running back room, I have to say, again, well, another hold my hands up where I was wrong. When you guys picked up Austin Eckler, with the way he played for the Chargers last year, there were a few clips of him where, I mean, I'd have run quicker than him, and I'm not particularly quick. I thought that season was his last one where he would have what I'd call it, a good season. And then he went to you guys this off season and was like, he's going to touch it much. He'll have a few plays here and then behind Brian Robinson, but he's really made a big impact, hasn't he?
Yeah, I love that. I actually loved that signing. When we signed him, I thought he's still got something left. Yeah, he wasn't great last year for you, but you always used him as a main guy after as a Melvin Gordon. I think when he was there.
Well,
he was number one
there as well.
He was number one, and then you had Eckler as a 2/1B, whatever you want to call it. But then when he went, Eckler became the main guy. But that's not his game. Like you can tell because his build is not. He's not built for 30 touches a game, And you were giving him that, so he was getting hurt a lot. He'd always have a bad ankle, all the rest of it. So he always when he was healthy, he was really good for you, but he wasn't always healthy for you, And I thought, well, if you play what we've got him playing at, as you said there, we have Brian Robinson. When we've got him, we can use him as a third down back type of guy or pass catcher, because he has got good hands for a running back. And I thought that's the perfect scenario for him. And he has played well for us. He missed games. He had a bad concussion early in the season. He missed about a month, 5 weeks. When he just came back really before the Dallas game just gone. In the preseason, the last game of the season, that was when he came back from his concussion. So he's still getting back into it again. But yeah, man, I love the signing. To be fair,
I'm again looking at the stats here for Eckler in sort of 2020. That was when he was the backup to Gordon, as sort of 100 carries, 50 receptions, and then 2022, his most carries were 204 and also 107 catches. It's not sustainable.
Yeah.
Production that for a running back,
and his build is not designed to that. He's not a Derrick Henry. You can give it to him 300 times a season. This guy. He's that kind of scat back, old school scat back, really. And those guys just aren't built to handle that much volume. Being honest.
Yeah. I mean, another one who was great for fantasy that year. I think.
A
lot of people fantasy leagues that season. I think it was something like 19 touchdowns or something crazy as well.
Yeah, mm-hmm. He's a good player.
Yeah, great player. The doink at the end of the game on Sunday, it happened to the Chargers mid-season against the Chiefs at Arrowhead, and I remember just watching that, and it was getting like 4 a.m. and feeling that heartbreak. And that was a regular season game. I dread to think how Bucs fans must be feeling this week. But as a Washington fan, I mean, your heart must have been in your mouth when you heard that noise.
Yeah, I've always. If anyone's ever listened to my kind of podcast, I'm always going on about kickers, especially our luck with kickers. We've been awful with kickers, selecting guys and performances from some of these guys. And at the moment we got Zane Gonzalez and Mr. OCD. Have you seen him with take his helmet off and he is messing with his hair? Exactly, yeah. He did it I didn't really notice it for only until the second game he started playing for us, when he came out to take a kick, and he was messing, and obviously the camera zooms into him as he's walking onto the field. He's messing with his hair. He's taking his hat off. He's messing with his hair. He's doing all this, and I'm like, "What's he doing?" And then he actually missed the kick. It was like a 35-yard chip shot, and I was going absolutely mental on him. I was like, "Man, what are you doing? What's this guy messing with his hair? Looking good for the camera or something?" Then missed the kick, So I didn't understand what he was about until then he came out this week and saying or last week he's got OCD. But yeah, man, when I was worried, man, because the other kicks in the game, he didn't do a lot of this with his hair. If you noticed that, he was really nervous, didn't he? He was really, really nervous. You could see it in his face, man. And I was like, "Oh, did you see any of his warm up for that kick? He took his shoe off, he took his sock off, put it back on again, took it off again, put it back on again. It's like, what are you doing? Like, honest to God, man, it was crazy stuff, man. I was like, what's this guy doing? You can say he's just so nervous. I was like, mate, he's going to miss this. And it was a, what was it, 30-yarder, something like that?
Yeah, about 30.
I was like, mate, he's going to miss this. He's going to miss this. And he nearly did. I was like, oh my God, man. But thank God I went through the post. Yeah, because I probably would have took a flight over there and battered him if he missed that, to be honest with you. I'm not being funny. I'd have been, oh man, I'd have lost my head.
I think it's all the momentum would have been with the Bucks then going into overtime, wouldn't it? I mean,
deflated us and game over. Yeah, exactly what happened.
But thankfully
he got it through, and he saved his bacon, saved our bacon, and yeah, man, everything's all good.
The thing is, though, going to Ford Field now, we'll get into that game in detail, but he's going to be needed. I'm not sure I'd want him in another really high pressure kick like that to win it at the end. I think I'd be on the edge of my seat if I was a Washington fan in that. Extra points and all the rest of it when it's in the middle of the game. I'm sure he's still a very good kicker. Will be okay. What was the kicker? I'm going to get the name wrong. Austin Seibert, was it?
Yeah, Seibert, yeah.
Earlier in the season, because didn't you beat the Cowboys with 7 field goals?
The Giants.
The Giants, that's right.
Giants second week 2. Yeah, I was at that game. I always go to the home opener, so
right.
So I went to home opener, and that was week 2 for us this year. And we won a game without scoring a touchdown.
I think it's the first time a team had conceded 3 touchdowns, not scored any touchdowns, and still won.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
He had 7. He had 7 in a row. But I was like, wow, okay, yeah, crazy. Yeah, typical Giants though. I mean, they risked it with their kicker Graham Gano, and he had a hamstring problem going into that week, and he was kicking before the game, and he said he felt he was fine. He kicked off and pulled his hamstring again as he was trying to run after Eckler, because Eckler actually caught it and took it to the house the very first kickoff, but it got called back for penalty. A little push in the back, I think, from can't remember his name. One of our special teams guys, can't remember his name now, Nick Ballard or something like that. Anyway, so he was trying to chase Eckler, and he pulled his hamstring. So they had no kicker after that. so it was like, so that worked out in our favour, because obviously they had chances to take field goals to win, to take more points, but instead they were going for 2. They were missing it, and that's why we got away with it. But yeah, man,
bit fortunate.
Fortunate.
What's a day like at a Washington game?
Oh, it's awesome, man. I mean, because of obviously the podcast and stuff, we obviously network with a lot of American fans. So when we do go over there, we meet up with a few of them, and then we go to the tailgate. Those tailgates are in the early morning. Normally when you go for 1:00 games, opens up about 9:00 in the morning. We always go red zone lot. So that opens up at 9 in the morning. People are there drinking beer straight away. Loads of food, loads of like little mini, just messing them on game stone footballs with each other, stuff like that. Really cool, really cool to meet up and network with other fans. And they really look after you, that they know that you're coming from the state, from England to go there, and they really look after you. It's a great experience for sure.
I asked this to Mark, who is the Denver Broncos Europe founder who we had on last week. The same question, but I'll ask it to you from a Washington point of view. If you were speaking to someone, if I'd never watched an NFL game and I wanted to get into the sport, and you were trying to sell the Commanders to me, you were trying to push that as my team, how would you do it? What would you say?
Good question. I mean, it depends really. I mean, there's a couple of ways you can go about it. One of them is we're very like, who do you like as a football team, as a normal soccer team, English team, I'd say, and I'd ask you what you're about and what team you support, and then you try and relate it to them. So, for example, I'm a Liverpool fan as well. Now, there's very, very big similarities to Washington to Liverpool.
Success in the 80s.
Success in the 80s, didn't do shit for 20 years, then all of a sudden become good again, yeah? And that's exactly the same kind of thing. So I'm used to that. So if anybody's got that kind of similar background of whatever team they support, you can go, you know what should be that? Because you'll have a great history. You've got the big history there, the old school, you've got the iconic emblem. I know we've lost it at the moment, but I think that might be coming back, So just the emblem, not the name, but the emblem might be coming back. Touch wood, I really want it back, to be fair. But we've got the big history. Started a long time ago. Got multiple Hall of Famers from even like the 30s, Sammy Baugh, stuff like that. That picture behind there, you can see back of my head. that's a Sammy Baugh signed from 1965. No photo from Sammy Baugh. I know you can't hardly see it because of the game machine behind you, but yeah. So yeah, and I've got I've got a big collection of signed memorabilia as well in different parts of the house. But it's all about kind of that camaraderie. You know, what Washington fans are actually really cool. Most of them are really cool people. You know, where sometimes you go to other stadiums, they're really horrible to you. You know, where when an opposing fan comes to us, we like having banter with them. It's different. You know what I mean? It's like it's a friendly fire more than actually, you know.
Yeah.
Like Philadelphia, for example. Philadelphia fans are god awful.
I was just going to say that clip going around this week has been
with the Green Bay lady.
Yeah,
ridiculous, man. Ridiculous. It's like, mate, she's coming to support her team. Doesn't need you in her ear. Your ear, mate. Give even corner all that. I mean, it's just not worth. It's not helpful. It doesn't help anyone. And I've read now that he's been banned. They found him. They banned him for life. Yeah. So, which is just as it. But yeah, but trying to get back to the point of trying to sell Washington, it's kind of like, well, you know, even the city's awesome. If you ever go to a capital city, you think of, you know, London. It's totally rammed. It's like really, really busy. It's really, really over the top. New York's like that as well. You know, metropolitan, very big. But if you go to DC, it's a different pace altogether, and that's actually the main capital. It's the capital of US, and it's so nice. There's loads of history, loads of museums there. Martin Luther King memorials there. Or if you love military type stuff, I mean, you'd love walking around DC. Telling you that's such a good place to go. Such a nice change of pace. I'm not a big no. And for example, I don't like London that much. Being honest with you,
I'm the same.
It's too busy.
I can't stand it.
It's too busy for me. I don't like it. Whereas going to DC, you'd love it. You'd love it if you don't like big, heavy, all over the top in your face like New York. Then you'll love it. You'll love it, DC. And you know, we got really cool. The future's bright for us. You know, we've got new ownership now. We've got stadiums. We're going to get a new stadium probably in the next 6 to 7 years. You know, and it's going to be hopefully back in DC. We're working our way back to try and get back into DC. So this is a great time to get in. If you're going to have a looking at a team, it's like, where are they going to be in 5-10 years? We've got a stud quarterback. We're only going to get better. We've got great quality coach. Great quality people in the building. That 5-6 years down the line, if you want to see him, there's going to be like right up there and be up there for a long time. Come and join us.
Well, touch wood that you're right. You sold it to me. It's the reason. I mean, I'm from Cardiff, but I love Cardiff for the fact it is a capital city. But you can walk around. The pace is chilled. You can get to anything you want quite easily around here. But you don't have that hustle and bustle of London, and there's not.
That was the word I could remember. Hustle and bustle.
Yeah, it's not my scene, not my vibe. That and go back quickly to
love DC. You'd love DC if that's the case.
I'll have to get out there. Maybe if things go bad for the Chargers, I'll pivot over and have a big W on my cap instead of a like.
You can't change teams, mate. That's just not right.
Well, you say that, but my best mate was a Washington fan when I met him, and
really?
After all the drama with the old owner a few years ago, he pivoted to the Vikings. So it's funny now, though, having seen what's happened this week. Now Washington have won and the Vikings lost yesterday, so there was a lot of fun.
You probably want to come back, and we'll be like, nah, mate, once you leave us once, you can't come back, mate.
I'm with you 100%. We mentioned that in the group chat this morning. He's not allowed to revert to type.
I mean, us like it's like die-hard football team, isn't it? You know, you'd never change. Would you, just because you're going through bad times or bad ownership? Do you really going to leave and go somewhere else? I mean, I can't do that. I'm not a glory hunter like that, you know. I couldn't do it. I just couldn't. I couldn't see myself supporting somebody else, you know, another NFL team or another soccer team. Yeah.
Anyway, let's talk this weekend. Come in. Saturday, the Washington game against what I think is most people's pick for the Super Bowl winners this season. One of the best records in football. One of the scariest offenses. This is two head coaches. This is going to be a great game of football. Two teams that are just going to go hell for leather. Fourth downs mean nothing to these guys. What a game it's going to be. I think it's not a game that Detroit are going to have their own way, is it?
I don't think so. I mean, being honest, when you look at it, I think there's a lot of great matchups in this game. But what you got to think about deep down is who's got the best talent, okay? And at the end of the day, the Lions have got better talent. You know, this is just being honest here. I mean, of course, I want my team to win, and I'm going to be rooting for them, and you know, I'm going to try and find ways to say how we're better. But they are talent for talent. They are better. Okay. especially on offense. I mean, their offense is crazy. I mean, we've got JD5. Once you've got JD5, you've got a chance. I mean, he's given that belief to people now. That genuinely, like that, not just, oh yeah, we'll beat you, talk smack. I'm talking, no, genuine belief that we can actually go and beat anyone. We can go in there and win. We've got the brotherhood of a team, and that's also key. You have to be a team. I know people say the team game, but then there's all these individual awards, isn't there? Best receiver, best quarterback, MVP, blah blah blah, offensive rookie of the year. Now, if you haven't got such a close knit team, the only other way you can get around it if you've got better talent. Yeah, if you don't have that talent, you have to find ways to even the playing field, and to do that is to be ultra gelled, all in sync, all on one page, and that's what we are. That's why we're just about getting away. In these close games, we've won our last 5 games. We've won on the last play of the game. Last 5 in a row, we've won our last 5 games. Last play of the game. So that shows that we're used to these tight games. If we can keep this game tight, we'll have a chance.
They're so scary, aren't they? That offense gives. Even Jameson Williams has come into his own this year, and that's ignoring Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sam Laporta. The names go on, and even if you look down the depth chart, there's like Tim Patrick is like the 4th choice guy there, and he was the wide receiver 2 for the Broncos not that long ago. This is a crazy good team. But as you say,
good O-line as well. They've got a good O-line.
Great O-line.
There's a lot of good matchups, man. I mean, I always think about Ben Johnson being this all superstar OC. Was him up against Cliff. It's going to be interesting. Another nice little kind of match up there. Who's the better coordinator? Yeah, you know what I mean? Stuff like that. So, it's all well and good when you've got a superstar lineup and you just pick whatever play you want and you pull it off every single time. It's different when you've got you've got a run game that's not working at the moment. Our run game is not doing anything besides JD's legs. We're not doing much. In the passing game, obviously, JD's legs in the passing game were doing well, hanging in there, but our run game, B-Rob, he averaged 1.6 yards a carry last week. 1.6. So, it's not good. I mean, because our whole line is not producing holes. So that's the biggest problem for us on offense. Can we score 30 points? Yeah, I think we could score 30 points. JD's that damn good, and Terry's that good. So those things can happen. But yeah, man, it's going to be a tough game, man. It's going to be a tough game, this one.
Last week, when I spoke to Mark, I creatively came up with a game called Doinks or No Nicks to ask him which quarterback he'd like. I don't have a witty pun for Jayden Daniels, but which quarterbacks? Because he sort of got stuck at around Justin Herbert level. He was like Bo Nix, Justin Herbert. He was sort of. I reckon you'd probably take Daniels over Herbert and would go a bit further than he went with Nix. How many quarterbacks would you take, or would you, as a Washington fan, have over Daniels right now? Josh Allen?
Yeah, I
Lamar?
think I'm going to say 3. I'd say Lamar, Josh Allen, and Mahomes. Anybody else, forget it, because, I mean, even though there is some good ones still there we've not mentioned, but JD he's that dual threat. He is like Lamar 2.0. That's how he plays. He
exactly
plays that way.
What I called him earlier.
Yeah. That's what he's like. I mean, he's a similar type of player, But I genuinely believe that JD is a better passer than Lamar is, and similar on legs. Now, yeah, you probably see Lamar's a little bit better. Okay, yeah, that's fine. I can live with that. But again, he knows when to run, when not to run, and it's just about keeping him healthy. He's going to be a stud. I mean, if he doesn't get hurt or anything like serious long-term injuries, he's going to be a stud. And he's going to be like, the first $70 million quarterback when his contract's up in a few years.
When he gets to it, yeah.
No, it's just a fact. He's that good. He's got everything that you need. And let's face it, this is the worst you're going to see him. Because it's his first season in the NFL. He's only going to get better. He's learning from everything that he does. Honest to God, man, he's going to be scary.
Just to wrap things up then, I want a prediction from you. I know that's putting you on the spot for it. How do you see, because we've got all the games now, we know all the lineups on each side. So we've got Chiefs, Houston. I guess you'll go Chiefs?
Yeah, Chiefs. I think Chiefs by at least 8.
By at least 8. My favourite game of the weekend, as much as I'm looking forward to the Lions-Washington game, is the Bills-Ravens. I think that's going to be an absolute barnstormer. That's the one I wouldn't disagree with you, whatever you say on this one. Which way do you see it going?
I mean, who's at home again? Remind me, it's the Bills, isn't it? Bills are at home.
Bills are at home.
So yeah, the home field advantage is huge in that one. It really is. So I'm going to go Bills.
You're going to go Bills.
Tight. I'm going to go Bills. Bills by 4, I'd say.
Rams, Eagles?
I really want the Rams to win that game. I can't stand the Eagles. I mean, I just can't stand them. Look, they're in our division, I get that. But I mean, I just can't stand them. So I just want them to lose. And I want to laugh at them on social media. Do you know what I mean? That's me. That's me. So,
you're going to say Rams then?
Yeah.
Heart over head one.
Eagles to win. Eagles to win by about 7, I reckon.
Okay. And then the big one for you, Commanders at Lions.
Head over heart. We lose. We lose by about 5, I reckon.
Lose by 5. Well, I mean, if you keep it, just say to one score towards the end, with the way that you've played and won games in the last 5, you never know. And I think it will be a really good game. Unfortunately, we have run out of time as well. It's been an absolute pleasure to speak to you, Andy.
Likewise, bro.
If you had to have a Super Bowl prediction and winner, just to wrap things up.
Well, head over heart again, you mean?
Well, give me both. Give me both your head and your heart.
Head, I'm gonna say the Bills get there. And I'm gonna say Detroit.
Bills v Detroit Super Bowl. That'd be a cracking game.
That would be the one that I think head. Heart, obviously, Washington in there against the Bills, and we'll get them again like we did in '91 when we won the last Super Bowl. We played the Bills. So
it was really. Oh, there we are. Yeah. Maybe a bit of history repeating itself the whole way.
It did with last week. So why not this time? But yeah, we'll have to see.
How nice that would be. That would be really nice. And also, sorry, I should have said as well. I know you mentioned your podcast at the start, but just give yourself another plug as well with your podcast and let people know where they can find you.
Yeah, man. As I say, so on Twitter, my handle's at ScouseAndy20. We have the 1 Point Safety Show, and on Twitter that is at 1 Point Safety number 4. Okay, that's live. So it's a live show. Anyone can join in the chat in that one, and we tend to answer quite a lot of the questions that get put in there. That's on a Thursday evening for English for UK people, 8 p.m. That's live. YouTube is the best place to find us on that one. And as I say, we have the bunker on Mondays, but that's a recording, so it's not live. And that comes out Mondays, and then live normally about 12 p.m. on a Sunday usually, but that's only during the season. So being that we might be doing one this Saturday, but we might not be doing one till next season. So but the 1 Point Safety is always there every week. We're there every week without fail. So
perfect. Well, again, thank you very much. And the self-plug for us, we're at Join the Huddle on X, on Twitter. We're now on TikTok. I've had to fight my inner demons to sign up on TikTok, but that's where the reels are from this podcast, from the last podcast. They'll all be on there. And of course, all the content, all the stories from 32 Rise. We were up to 32. We've got there for HuddleUK over on our website. So there's loads of online content as well as this podcast as well, which is on Spotify, or you can just listen through the website. Thank you very much, Andy, for joining us. Good luck to the Commanders this weekend. Hope you all listening have an enjoyable weekend. Hope if it's your team playing that you get through to the championship rounds. We'll be speaking to another guest next week whose team do get through. And until next time, thank you very, very much for joining the Huddle this weekend.